do is up to you. But we try to get the best information we can to you, and then whatever you decide to do, and whatever level you're willing to do it at, is perfectly fine. But we get messages literally from all over the world, people saying how much they have learned. I get messages from doctors and hospitals and administrators saying, "Doc, I always knew this. I never thought of it that way before." Had an orthopedic surgeon friend of mine come in the other day, and he said, "Joe, we just got to talk about nutrition, man." He says, "I'm bloated all the time." He says, I'm so gassy. It's horrible." And sure enough, his stomach was pushed up against his diaphragm, and I explained it to him, and he said, "Well, I'd never heard of that before." And I said, "Well, of course not. That's why you're here." So we went ahead and adjusted his stomach and got him on some supplements. And it's nice because the medical world doesn't know what I'm teaching you guys. They know a little bit of it, or they know bits and pieces. They never put it all together. So I just got to go ahead that we can go ahead and get started. So if you would give me my clock, and here we go. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I'm glad you're with me today. We're talking today about surprising things that you're doing that are preventing you from having good circulation. Now, you think to yourself, that's a boring topic. No, it's never boring. You know that. Because circulation is life. The way the body works is your brain sits up in your head, sends messages down your spine, out your nerves to every cell in the body. So there's a nerve that goes to your heart and your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your kidneys, your thyroid, your gallbladder. Everything has to be connected to the brain. And that's how the brain gets electrical impulses to the organs. Well, how does it get nutrients? How does it get nutrients? It gets it through circulation. So if you have circulatory issues, you're affecting every cell in your body. Now, the cells carry oxygen through red blood cells, and the oxygen is hooked onto the red blood cells. It goes to the organ, drops off the oxygen, comes back to the lungs, gets some more. And that's why carbon monoxide poisoning is so dangerous, because the carbon monoxide attaches itself to the red blood cells. Red blood cells can't carry oxygen. You suffocate. So red blood cells are unique. They're the only cell in the body that don't have something called mitochondria. Mitochondria is a part of the cell that generates electricity. So it has its own little powerhouse inside the cell, and it has to get nutrients to the powerhouse to make the cell run. If you have poor circulation, you may not be getting the proper nutrients to the cells, so the mitochondria can't get things like glucose and other nutrients, and so now the cells are malfunctioning, many times even die. So you need the nervous system. You've heard me talk so many times about a normally functioning nervous system. Today we're talking about a normally functioning circulatory system. And unfortunately, most of you are doing things every single day that are adversely affecting your circulatory system. So what might that look like? Well, let's talk about what that is first. Circulation, the main concern we have with it is hardening of the arteries, buildup of what's called arteriosclerosis. And if you build up plaque or this hardening of the arteries in the blood vessels, blood can't flow through properly. And so what the body does in many cases, it raises the blood pressure to force the blood through these narrower tubes or blood vessels. And that becomes an issue. So plaque is made up of deposits of fatty substances, cholesterol, cellular waste products, calcium, a protein called fibrin. And it builds up in the arteries, and the arteries become thicker, but they also become stiffer. They don't open and close like they used to. It's a slow process, so it doesn't happen overnight. Now, when I first got into school, a couple hundred years ago, when I went to chiropractic college, they taught us about arteriosclerosis, and it happened in old people. That's what we learned 40 years ago. Well, now it turns out that we're seeing it in young people. Children are developing plaque in the arteries. And most of that is due to their diet. I'd say all of it, but I never say all. I don't give definitives. But most of that's due to their diet. Because 40 years ago, we didn't have a lot of things that we have in the food supply today. And if you remember, if you were a kid, when I was a kid, grocery stores were a lot smaller. Now we have so much junk being served in the grocery stores, processed foods, ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed foods are defined as foods that you would not normally find in someone's kitchen. So you wouldn't find, you might find hydrogenated oils, but you wouldn't find red dye number 4. You wouldn't find some of the chemicals and additives. And so I'm going to do a whole show on ultra-processed food. I'm going down a rabbit hole here. But arteriosclerosis is a slow process, and a lot of it has to do with the diet. So risk factors, of course, are high cholesterol and high triglycerides, high blood pressure, smoking, type 1 diabetes, obesity, physical inactivity, high saturated fat diet. That's the animal proteins we talk about. Free radical, if you're exposing yourself to even radiation, you expose yourself to cigarettes, that's 100 trillion free radicals per puff of cigarettes. Now, free radicals, think of them like Pac-Man. They eat through things. So if you're exposing yourself to a lot of free radicals, they get into the blood vessels, and this is a real simplified version. They eat away at the blood vessel. They start eating holes in the blood vessels. So the blood vessels say, wait a minute, I got to patch that hole. So the body uses this cholesterol, this plaque, to fill in the hole. And over time, you get layer upon layer upon layer of this plaque, and that's when you start getting narrowing of the artery, so you can't carry nutrients to the body. The body is essentially starving because the circulatory system isn't working. Now, you're probably not eating a good diet either, so you're not going to give the body the nutrients. So now not only you're not circulating the blood properly, you're not giving the body nutrients, because if you're eating a good diet, you wouldn't have the hardening of the arteries, right? We'll catch 22 there. So how do you know if you have signs and symptoms of arteriosclerosis? Now, it could be that your feet get cold. It could be that you get leg cramps. It could be that you get Charlie horses, yeah, from Jersey, they're horses. And that could be a sign. But in most cases, major majority of cases, you're not going to see any symptoms. So what happens is, again, I've been in practice a long time, 38 some odd years. And in our office, we take x-rays on our patients before we do chiropractic treatments on them, most cases. And many, many, many times, I'd say at least once a day, and we take x-rays, we're going to see some hardening of the arteries. Now, if we can see it on an x-ray, it's already in its advanced stage. Now, I'm going to talk about other ways it can be diagnosed as well. But if we see it on an x-ray, it's not good. So what we do is we sit down with the patient and we do nutrition evaluation. In fact, we do nutrition evaluation on all our patients. And we discuss, this is not a game. This is pretty serious. Now, many times patients will say, well, Dr. Joe, I already had quadruple bypass, so I'm good. I already had other treatments, and I'll go over those in a second. I'm good. No, you're not. Because if you have it in your heart, or you have it in your abdomen, you have it in your carotid arteries, you have it everywhere. It's like it's going to go to just one place and say, I'm only going to clog up your heart. It's going to go everywhere. So it's not just the risk of heart disease, it's the risk of not getting proper circulation and proper nutrients to the cells. My goal is to get you well without drugs and surgery if possible. If it's not possible, I support 100% that we go ahead and we do drugs and surgery if necessary. But let's try to fix it without such extreme techniques, procedures. Let's try to go basic. Let's try to go simple. Let's try to go inexpensive. And then we can always accelerate from there. But in most cases, we don't have to. So, again, I can see it on x-rays. We can do a cardiac catheterization. They put a thin tube. They pass it into the coronary arteries. X-rays are taken after dye is injected. And you can see the narrowing. A little extreme. Doppler sonography. A special probe is used to direct sound waves at the blood vessels to evaluate the blood flow. Blood pressure comparison. If you're comparing blood pressure measurements in your ankles and in the arms, that helps determine any constriction of blood flow. Significant differences could mean you have hardening of the arteries. But once again, if you have hardening of the arteries everywhere, it may not show up. You can do a radionuclide angiograph, nuclear scan. They use nuclear myocardial perfusion scan. These are all different scans we can use, computerized or CT, computerized tomography or CT scan. But it drives me nuts when I have patients have these tests done and they come back positive. And it's got a lot of medical testing. And the test says it's positive. That's pretty serious. You might need to have procedures. You might need medication. You might need to have bypasses. But very seldom, if ever, does a patient ever come in and say, the doctors, the nurses, the nurse practitioner sat me down and discussed lifestyle, they discussed nutrition, they discussed nitric oxide, they discussed cleaning out my arteries from a natural standpoint. Now, again, if you need triple bypass surgery, absolutely go have it. But now what? What's going to stop it from happening again? What's going to happen if you cut off the blood supply to your sex organs? Sex organs don't get blood supply, they don't work. How about your spleen, your kidneys, gallbladder? So my concern is that, yes, I agree with the medical procedures, but I don't agree with the fact that they don't do anything about it. And that's where my concern comes in. So lifestyle change, of course, quit smoking, lower your cholesterol levels, be careful with blood sugar, exercise more, poor dietary habits, high blood pressure. It's usually an also-ran. Now, I didn't know what an also-ran was. And I remember years ago I was dating this gal, and she said something about it was an also-ran. And I said, I don't know what that is. And she looked at me, because, I'm a hick from New Jersey. And an also ran is like the person who comes in second at the beauty pageant. You always know who came in first, but you never know who also ran, other people that ran. So it's not that important. The most important thing is let's go ahead and fix up the arteries in the heart and do a bypass, yes, but what about the other things that are happening too? So that's what I want you to start considering. A, it's almost always preventable. In fact, I would say always preventable, but I never say always. So you did it. And this is the challenge that people have. You did this to yourself. And then they get mad. I went to the doctor and he didn't fix it. I went to the doctor and I still have chest pain. I went to the doctor, my feet are still cold. Yeah, because the doctors did everything they could, but sometimes the damage is too far gone. Stop blaming the doctor. Take on personal responsibility. You did this. Now, there are genetic issues sometimes. It could be a disease process. I understand that. But in most cases, when it comes to circulation, you did it to yourself. Again, there are exceptions. There are genetic issues. People can have diseases. But either way, you got to start taking responsibility. So if you do an angioplasty, what that is, a balloon is inflated to create a bigger opening in the vessel to increase the blood flow. And that can be done throughout the body if you need to. But the problem is if you have heart arteries, it's affecting blood flow, and it builds up, let's say, in your aorta, any blood vessel. We'll use your aorta, though. The aorta can start to become balloon out. It can become engorged. And if it gets beyond 5.5 centimeters or 55 millimeters, when I see that on an x-ray, I tell the patient, sit down, I'm calling you an ambulance. I've had to do this 3 times in my career. What do you mean? This is 5.7, 5.8. I said, we need to get you to a surgeon immediately. I'm going to go to my cardiologist in a couple of weeks. No. My protocol, proper protocol, is you get to a surgeon immediately. And in every one of those 3 cases that I saw it that bad, I've seen them close, but when it gets to that point, I have a fiduciary responsibility to get you to a surgeon. Every one of them, the person had surgery within a day or 2. And every one of them, the surgeon said, that saved your life. You probably would have died in a day or 2. So it's not a game you want to play here. And it's not something that has a lot of symptoms in many cases. So again, balloon angioplasty, you can do laser angioplasty, coronary artery stents. Again, these are all surgical procedures. I don't do them in my office. I don't do them at all. But you have to start thinking, why did I have this happen? So a patient called in the other day, one of my shows, and he said, Dr. Joe, is there a way to clean out the arteries? Is there a way to increase circulation? And the answer, the good news, is a resounding yes. Because years ago, we were taught, heart disease, hardening of the arteries, it is what it is, take the medication, deal with it. But then researchers came out, and Dr. McDougall is very famous. He's a medical researcher, and he did a lot of research initially on this, and then other doctors have followed, that if you change your diet, I'm going to tell you what kind of diet in a second. When you change your diet, many cases you can reverse up to 100% of all coronary hardening. Clean out the arteries up to 100%. All you have to do is one simple thing. Change your diet. And McDougall did the research over and over again, and he still has, people, you buy his books, and I'm telling you what he's going to tell you to do. You go to a plant-based diet. You start eating fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, a lot of whole foods, not from the store, but whole foods, meaning unprocessed foods. And in most cases, it reverses. Dr. Sinatra, cardiologist, did that. Dr. Esselstyn. So the medical research is clear as it can possibly be. If you have plaquing in the arteries, the best thing to do is to change your diet over and over again. And you can do scans to test if you have plaquing, and I support those 100%. But if you have a scan that's positive, what do you do about it? That's when you start following this advice. Now, if you don't know what to eat, if you don't know what a plant-based diet looks like, go to my website, drjoe.com, and just type the words in the search bar, so what can I eat? And listen to the lecture. It's just me sitting in a studio one day about what to eat. This is the starting point to get you into a plant-based diet. Once you get to that level, and I've learned I like to do this in steps. Some people jump right in and go to black belt. I'm teaching you brown belt nutrition. Black belt is a little more advanced. But the brown belt nutrition is a great starting point. And then you start cutting out all your processed foods, try to cut out more cooked foods, eat more raw foods. And I have seen this happen time and time and time again. We get somebody on the protocol, we get them on supplements, and you take x-rays 9 months, 8 months, 12 months later, and you see the plaquing getting better and better and better. And it's amazing. And they're blown away. And many of the vascular doctors will say, hey, listen, whatever you're doing is working, just keep doing it. And then they'll call me and say, what did you have this patient do? And I'll explain it's a plant-based diet. I'll explain what it is. I'll talk about McDougall, Esselstyn's, Sinatra's research. And they'll say, I'd never heard that before. That's amazing. I'm going to look that up. So a famous man once said, forgive them for they know not what they do. It's not like the medical profession is out there trying to hurt you. It's not like chiropractors are out there trying to hurt you. It's not like anybody's out there. Well, maybe some are. I don't know. But generally speaking, most doctors are good. They have a good heart. They want to get you well. They just don't know that there's other options out there. I've been researching nutrition and biochemistry and neurophysiology for 40 years. I learn something new every day. It's just that simple. I learn something new every day. So there's so much research to be had, and I'm out there researching the researchers. And that's why I want to share that all with you, because it's so important. So the answer is yes. In many cases, it can be reversed. Now, plaque buildup inside the artery reduces the blood flow. Heart attack may occur if the blood supply is reduced too much. Why? Not getting enough oxygen and nutrients. Damaged heart muscle may not pump as well, and that could lead to something called heart failure. Now, heart failure means the heart just isn't pumping as well as it should. Doesn't mean you're going to die tomorrow. I don't like the term, but it means the heart just isn't pumping as well as it should. A stroke can occur if blood supply is cut off to the brain, if it cuts off to the lungs, pulmonary embolism, if a piece of this plaque breaks off and clogs up the artery later on down the line. So imagine you have a sewer pipe and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, if a piece of junk breaks off in the big sewer pipe and it clogs up the little sewer pipe, whatever on the other end of the sewer isn't going to get water. Whatever on the other end of this blood blockage isn't going to get nutrients. And so that's where we start to have our problems. And it can be minor. It can be major. When it comes to sexual function, folks, if you have kids in the room, I'm going to talk adult here for a second. When it comes to sexual function, many cases for men and women, it's a circulatory issue. Now, for men, it's very obvious. Man can't function, doesn't have enough blood flow. And you can actually do a Doppler ultrasound and see where the blood vessels are clogged. And there are treatments you can do. You can take medicine, little blue pills that open up the blood vessels. But the problem is it doesn't treat the cause, it treats the symptoms. And about 50% of the people that take the little blue pill doesn't work. And one of the reasons it doesn't work is because they don't have enough nitric oxide. I'm going to cover this a little later. Nitric oxide is a chemical that opens up your blood vessels. It relaxes the blood vessels and opens them up. If you don't have enough nitric oxide, you're trying to force it and it just doesn't work. And nitric oxide, I believe, it's already part of my major protocol, is going to be a major buzz very shortly. You know, you go through phases. Remember, there's a high-protein diet, ketogenic diet. Oh, it's the greatest thing in the world. Then it turns out, it really isn't the greatest thing in the world. It's very dangerous, long-term. So you have these fads that come up. And so you got to be careful. Even some of the treatments like for lose weight, you can freeze fat cells. Well, if you freeze the fat cells, they're gone. It really works. But what about the fat cells next to it? So that's, again, there's a shortcut, but there's usually the long-term answer. And that's what we're trying to always reach out as a long-term answer. And try not to jump on the bandwagon. Try not to jump on a fad. But nitric oxide has been around, of course, forever. It's been discovered, in our lifetime. But amazing what can be done by just simply adding nitric oxide and nitric oxide foods to your diet. I'm going to talk about those a little later. The other thing we have to look at when it comes to blood supply is the nerve supply to the blood vessels. So I've had patients over the years come in and say, Dr. Joe, I have sciatic pain shooting down my leg and my toes are cold. And I check the nerve supply, and sure enough, when the nerves come out of the spine and go down into the legs, they're wrapped around the blood vessels. They kind of interwoven. So if you have a pinched nerve, you can also have a pinched blood vessel. So we're always trying to look at things chemically, but many times it's a physical problem. So if you've had treatments for circulation, it's not working, consider that there may be a physical pinching of the blood vessel. So if you pinch a nerve, it hurts 10% of the time. 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. So you can have a pinched nerve and not know it. So that's why when you come in our offices in the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, we test the nerves that feel pain, and we can also test the nerves that don't feel pain. So the number one reason we see patients in our clinic is pain. Neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling. And my doctors and I are really good at helping people get out of pain. We can't help everyone. We're not perfect, but the results are outstanding in most cases. So if you have pain, you want to come see us. But we also want to check the nerves. While we're checking the nerves, we're checking the blood supply. So if we're pinching a nerve to a blood vessel can't get the message from the brain, and it can't work properly. So this is it's a unique way of looking at healthcare. Liver, spleen, kidney, sex organs, colon. Always check the nerves to the organs to make sure that that's not the problem. It's like if I came into the studio today and the lights weren't on. I could change the light bulbs all day, but if I didn't flip the switch to open up the electricity to the lights, it's not going to work. Same thing with the organs. So when it comes to chiropractic care, it's way more than just pain, although it's the number one reason we see people. So if you'd like to make an appointment to come see us, and we'll check the nervous system, we'll check the digestive system, we'll talk about your diet, go to my website, drjoe.com. Do it right now, drjoe.com. Not if you're driving. Don't do it then. drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right online. If you have questions, call us. We accept all people with all insurances and no insurances. We accept people, probably 40% of our practice, 50% don't have insurance. That's okay. Chiropractic is the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. So sometimes it's cheaper to not even have insurance and have these $6,000 deductibles and $100 copays, and some of it's ridiculous. So come see us. Again, what your insurance covers. We don't know what your insurance covers. We accept you. It depends if they accept us. So drjoe.com. Normally the first visit is $940. We've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I don't know why you're not booking an appointment, running to the computer right now and booking an appointment. Let's get to the cause of your healthcare problems, not just circulation, what we're talking about today. Always try to get to the cause of the healthcare problems if we can, not just treat the symptoms. It might be chiropractic care. It might be working on the organs, the stomach, the spleen. It might be supplements. It might be dietary changes. We cover all of that on all of our patients. Wow, that's healthcare. Again, my goal is healthcare that really, really works. And it may not work for you, but it works for most people. So drjoe.com. Again, we talked about nitric oxide. That's going to be on our website, drjoe.com. If you have low blood pressure, I don't recommend nitric oxide, or take maybe a quarter dose and see how you do. But if you have high blood pressure, if you're regular, I take 4 nitric oxide supplements a day. Opens up my blood vessels, increases circulation to my brain, my organs. I have lots of energy when I take it because it increases circulation, which increases nutrients and oxygen. And most of us, as we get older, are nitric oxide deficient. Our body just doesn't make it like it used to, so we can supplement with it. It's really cool. It's one of the most amazing supplements I've ever taken. Also, the minimum supplements I would recommend you take are Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. And if you have bad circulation, not everybody, chances are high that you don't have a good diet. So Super Greens and Essential Source are the minimum supplements I would suggest every single day. Now, they're powders. I take a scoop of each every day, and I mix it with coconut milk or almond milk, or today I had it with a frozen banana. In the summer, I like to mix it with a frozen banana, make a smoothie out of it. So Super Greens, Essential Source, and nitric oxide are core supplements that I would say you probably need more, but I would start with them. And they're all on the website, drjoe.com. Now, the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. You can make an appointment to come see us, and if you want to get the supplements, you can come by and pick them up. It'll save you some shipping costs. I don't pay the post office. I'll put the money in your pocket. Doesn't matter to me. So drjoe.com. But again, we ship out most of our supplements, and we ship all over the world. So drjoe.com. But the hardening of the arteries, the circulatory issues are very serious. Now, when you call a healthcare provider, if it gets worse, you start having new symptoms, you start losing feeling, that's when you go see a healthcare provider right away. But if you are eating a bad diet, if you're eating the standard American diet, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, chances are you're building up plaque in the arteries. I had a scan done not long ago, and I had 0 plaquing. And at my age, that's very rare. Now, people do have 0 plaquing, but most people have a score, they call it, a calcium score. That's how much calcium or cholesterol is built up in the arteries. And depending how bad the score is, depends on how serious your condition is. But regardless, if you have a 0 score, you're probably doing the right things, keep doing them. If you have a calcium score, you definitely want to change your diet. It's the most effective, least expensive way to do it. Without drugs, without surgery. Again, you might need drugs or surgery, but in most cases you don't. And there's certain foods, I'm going to talk about that next. Certain foods I want you to start adding to your diet that increase circulation to your brain, your sex organs, your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen. So there's a whole protocol of foods I'm going to recommend that work real well. Again, if you want to make an appointment, if you have any questions, send them to me through the website, drjoe.com. All right, part 1, done. Any questions, John?
Does a low-dose aspirin help with blood circulation?
Yes. Also has side effects, though. So, again, I'm not a medical doctor. I can't tell you to take drugs or not take drugs. But low-dose aspirin over time can do some real serious damage to your liver. So I'd rather get the circulation naturally by cutting out. We're going to talk about that next, what to cut out and then what to add. So that's sort of the way I'd prefer you do it. So, what else?
Are plant-based proteins okay for kidneys?
Plant-based proteins are the only proteins that are okay for kidneys. Animal proteins can tear up your kidneys. Small amount can cause a little damage. A lot of it can cause a lot. Now, I saw the studies, and it was really cool. They gave people with kidney issues same amount of animal protein and plant protein. And the ones that did the animal protein, they saw kidney damage. Again, plant protein, there was none. So plant-based proteins, absolutely. And again, you don't need more protein. I eat a plant-based diet, and I get 2 to 3 times the amount of protein that I need and require on a daily basis. So everybody, unless you have, your diarrhea or throwing up and you have a serious disease, almost everybody has enough protein in their diet. And if you're going to do protein, make sure it's plant-based. But you don't need to. All right, what else?
Nothing else.
Okay. Had a patient send me a question the other day. She has polycystic ovarian syndrome. And that's a hormone imbalance. And you get these cysts in her ovary she was having. Severe pain, menstrual cramps, excruciating. And they said, you need to eat more protein. So you need to eat more animal products. She said, Dr. Joe, my doctor told me to eat more animal products. I said, that was the worst advice you can get. Because the animal products, especially commercial ones, are loaded with estrogen and estrogen-like compounds that can actually cause more growth of the tumors. So to say you need protein and you should eat animal products are 2 different statements. She didn't need more protein. She needed to get to the cause of why her body was producing these tumors. And most cases, when I see them, I put them on a plant-based diet, and they do great. You also want to check the nerve supply in the low back, because that's the nerve supply to the uterus. But I digress. All right. Ready for part 2? All righty. Get my timer there. I got a big, by the way, there's a big clock behind the cameras, and I got to make sure I'm right exactly at 24 minutes. That's why I keep looking over there. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. Thanks for being here. What we're talking about today are ways to improve your circulation. Well, you think to yourself, well, Dr. Joe, my hands and feet are normal. I don't have to improve my circulation. Yeah, you probably do. All of us do. Because the body functions because the brain sends messages along the nerves and tells the organs and the muscles to work. But you also have to send nourishment to those organs, and you do that through blood vessels. And if you have bad circulation, you may not be getting the nutrients and the oxygen that you're supposed to get. So you might get tired. You might not be able to build muscle mass. You might have sexual dysfunction, organ dysfunction, because you need the blood supply going to these organs. And so you never thought about your blood supply, did you? I'm trying hard enough to get you thinking about your nerve supply. But the blood supply carries nutrients and oxygen. So earlier we talked about what hardening of the arteries is, what can cause it, and what to do about it. Now I'm going to talk about foods that improve your circulation. I want you to add these foods to your diet right away. And the cool part was, when I was researching all this, it's everything I've ever taught you all together. So once again, we'll say Dr. Joe was right, because the things I've been teaching you for the past 40 years just keep coming up in research. Dr. McDougall, Dr. Esselstyn, they came up with, McDougall was the pioneer in there, of showing that a plant-based diet in many cases can reverse heart disease. And he's done it countless times. I've seen it happen countless times. And so the research is very clear. Plant-based diet can reverse heart disease in many cases, not all, but many. And so we have the research. Why do we still have so many cardiac hospitals? Why are we doing so many cardiac surgeries? Why are so many people taking medications and having adverse side effects? Why is that? We have the answer. The answer is you do it to yourself. A, you caused it. B, hopefully you can prevent it. And yet for some reason, we just keep going on and on and on about, we need to build more hospitals. We need to do more surgeries. Yes, I agree. Research is important. It keeps people alive. I'm not against that. But we also need to add that, oh, by the way, you have a lot of control over this. and I wish more people would. All right, so circulation is the key. It's your body's superhighway. It carries nutrients and oxygen to every part of your body, your muscles, your skin, your hair, everything. Healthy diet is the easiest, quickest, least expensive way to optimize circulation. And you combine that with things like exercise, hydration, weight management, not smoking. A lot of foods you can add to your diet that are going to increase circulation. A lot of the things I'm going to talk about today, I talk about in February when I do my food romance connection. We do a whole lecture. It's on the food romance connection. I save it till Valentine's Day. And we talk about how to improve your love life without drugs and surgery from a physical and physiological standpoint. Why are things not working like they used to? What can we do to get them working better? And many times there are answers. And it's not always pills. It's not always injections. Many times there are things you can do. So a couple of things I want you to consider adding to your diet. How about hot peppers? It spices up your food, but it has a compound called capsaicin. Now, cayenne pepper, we'll talk about, can help your arteries work well. It also helps relax the muscles in your blood vessels so blood can flow easily. It's great for people with high blood pressure. Now, some people don't like spicy foods. All right, we got a lot more. You don't have to do everything. And that's something else, guys. I've been teaching for 40 years now. You don't have to do everything I say. I want you to. You're probably going to get the best results if you do. But I don't want you to say, well, Dr. Joe, I can't give up all the 7 deadly sins, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, so I'm not going to do any of it. Well, who are you hurting with that? You're only hurting yourself. Do it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? You ate a good diet for a couple of weeks. But if I'm right, which I am, then you can say, wow, I had no idea it was so easy to get well and stay well. So cayenne peppers are great. Spice up your food. I like spicy food. If you don't like spicy food, what else can we do? Well, you see probably a lot of commercials for beet powder, B-E-E-T, right? Beet powder. It's rich in something called nitrates. And nitrates convert into nitric oxide. They open up your blood vessels. They loosen up your blood vessels. They improve blood flow to your tissues. Researchers have found that beet juice can help lower your blood pressure because of the nitrates. Absolutely correct. However, there are better ways than beet juice. Beet juice is fine. Beet powder is fine. I have no problem with that. But let's talk about better ways to do it. One of them is arugula. Arugula is a salad. It's a green. Has a little bitter taste to it. I like it a lot. But arugula has exponentially more nitrates in it than nitric oxide than beets. How about that? I take a supplement called nitric oxide, and it's on the website drjoe.com. And the nitric oxide, we make it with citrulline. Citrulline is very popular in watermelons. That's why watermelons helps with circulation. But we use citrulline. Now, citrulline converts into nitric oxide. Nitrates convert into nitric oxide. Arginine converts into nitric oxide. Now, arginine is another supplement that can help with circulation, but I'm not a fan of this one. Why? Because arginine can actually stimulate herpes outbreaks in the body. Now, there's over 100 different types of herpes viruses. Probably everybody has something in their body that's a herpes cousin. There's genital herpes, there's oral herpes, there's shingles. And so you can cause outbreaks. And it's funny because, my main practice is in the Atlanta area. And people come to us and they'll say, Dr. Joe, I got herpes outbreak. I got shingles. I got oral herpes, genital herpes. I got an outbreak. Well, what'd you do last week? Well, nothing. I didn't do much. I went to the Braves game and, I went to work. And at the Braves game, what did you eat? Well, every time I go to the Braves game or baseball game, whatever it is, circus, I have peanuts. Peanuts are high in arginine. Arginine can cause outbreaks. And so I'm not a fan of peanuts for many reasons, including they're high in omega-6 fatty acids and linoleic acid, which can oxidize, and that can damage the mitochondria in the cell. I did a show on that, I think, 2 weeks ago. But peanuts, not a good choice, because they also usually carry a mycotoxin on it, which can cause allergic reactions. And they have arginine, which can increase your circulation, but the adverse effect is the herpes outbreak. So citrulline solves that problem. It gives you all the benefits, none of the downside. So I take Dr. Joe's nitric oxide every day. Now, if you have low blood pressure, be careful. You might want to just open up a capsule and take a half a capsule and see how you feel. And then maybe the next day take a whole capsule, because it's going to open up your blood vessels, and chances are it's going to lower your blood pressure. So if you have high blood pressure, awesome. If you have circulatory issues, awesome. But if you have low blood pressure, I don't want to make it lower. So just tread lightly if you have low blood pressure. For most of us, the nitric oxide supplements are just rocking. And I take 4 a day. First thing in the morning, it gets my blood flowing. It makes me feel good. It gets my brain functioning. People ask me all the time, Dr. Joe, I've seen you do live lectures. I've seen you do, seminars, conferences, radio shows, and you always seem to have answers to health questions. How does your brain work at that level at your age? Because I ain't young. And they say, how does your brain work at that level? One of my secrets is nitric oxide. I also take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, which is the base supplements I think everybody should be taking. And Super Greens and Essential Source are just awesome. They have powders. I take a scoop of each. I just mix it up with coconut milk, almond milk. And so that's a great starting point for the circulation talk we're doing today. That's a great starting point. Nitric oxide, Super Greens, and Essential Source. Arugula is great. If you have an arugula and beet salad and then take nitric oxide, man, you're golden. That's one of the recipes I talk about in the Food Romance Connection. An arugula beet salad with apple cider vinegar. Because apple cider vinegar helps stimulate your digestive system as well. So, yeah, there's lots of foods out there. Berries work great. Berries are rich in something called antioxidants. These are nutrients that fight off free radicals. Free radicals are like Pac-Man. They eat through things. Waka, 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 waka. And so we don't want our body being attacked by these free radicals. But one of the particularly good ones for your blood vessels is called anthocyanine. And this helps with the blood vessels specifically. And it's the thing that gives the red and purple colors to things like grapes and other foods. It can help protect the walls of the arteries from damage and from becoming stiff. And it spurs the release of nitric oxide, which again opens up your blood vessels and makes them more flexible. So one of the secrets to staying young is good circulation. And you could easily do that by A, not causing the damage. And so what damages your blood vessels? Well, saturated fats are the big one. Everybody across the board agrees. Animal fats, not good for this, for a lot of things. Some people say animal fats have some benefits. They might. But I feel in my research, and I've been doing this a long time, any benefits are far outweighed by the downside. And you can get all the benefits and none of the downside by eating other foods. And that's how I like to bet. If I can either break even or win and never lose, that's where I want to place my bets. And that's how I want you to feel about your health. If you could never lose, only break even, why wouldn't you do it? Or win, even better. So berries are great. They help with the circulation. Omega-3 fatty acids are so vital. I take them every single day. It's on the website, drjoe.com. I have Dr. Joe's Omega-3. It's called an essential fatty acid. You have to get it from an outside source, and it's absolutely necessary for proper circulation and for proper brain function, and for other things too, immune system, things like that. So I take omega-3 fatty acids. Now, when people think of omega-3s, they think about fish oil. Fish oil is cheap. It has omega-3s in it. Problem is that most fish oil is contaminated with mercury or other heavy metals. So some companies can actually filter out the mercury, which is good. But the fish oil is still in not what's called a phospholipid form. Phospholipid is the form that the fish oil gets absorbed, the omega-3s get absorbed. So krill oil, way less risk of heavy metal toxicity, and it's already in a phospholipid form, easier to absorb. So krill oil above fish oil, absolutely, in my opinion. Better than that is algae oil. Algae oil is the purest form of omega-3s. It's the one I take every day. It's on the website, drjoe.com. It says take one capsule a day. It's a vegan capsule. Excuse me. I take 2 a day. I take a gram of omega-3s every single day. It's great for the brain, great for circulation, great for keeping you young. And it's part of a protocol. None of this is the end-all, be-all. It's all part of protocols. So far, we got Super Greens, an essential source, omega-3 fatty acids, and nitric oxide to help with circulation as far as supplements go. Pomegranates are great. If you never had a pomegranate, they're pretty cool to eat. Pomegranate juice could be a lot of sugar, so just be careful with that. You might want to eat pomegranate by itself. Now, pomegranates are weird. They're little tiny seeds. They're crunchy. Sometimes they're a little bitter if you don't get a good one. So pomegranates are great, but it may not be the most common one, let's say. Garlic is awesome. It contains a sulfur compound called allicin, A-L-L-I-C-I-N, not allicin, and it helps your blood vessels relax. Studies show that people who eat a diet rich in garlic, blood flows more efficiently. That means the heart doesn't have to work as hard to move blood through the body, which helps you keep your blood pressure down. Now, I look at my old Italian relatives. They're all gone now. But my grandmother lived to 96, we think, maybe 94, maybe 98. She doesn't know when she was born. She didn't know when she was born. She was born in Italy, late 1800s. There were no records. But anyway, as she got older, she became overweight. She had real bad arthritis. I didn't know what I know now. And she had trouble walking, and so she ate and she gained weight. But her blood pressure was always amazing. Her brain was amazing. She died in surgery because she had an ulcer. And surgery in the stomach, it was about to rupture. And so they had to do surgery on her stomach, and unfortunately, she passed in surgery. But her blood pressure was perfect. She ate garlic every single day. There was not a day. I mean, I remember her putting garlic in Farina, breakfast cereals, and she put garlic in everything. And there's a lot of benefits to it. It's antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal, helps with circulation. It's one of those aphrodisiac foods. She had 10 kids. I guess it worked. So it's an aphrodisiac food, but then, of course, you get bad breath. If you eat garlic and you get bad breath, what do you do about it? Parsley. Parsley is high in chlorophyll, and chlorophyll can help neutralize bad breath. Supergreen is an essential source, both also high in chlorophyll. Off-label, use it for bad breath. It works real nicely. I have a lot of people that have breath issues, and when they take it, they say, Dr. Joe, my husband's breath cleared up, my wife's. So it works really well. So anyway, that's just a fun fact for you. Walnuts are great. They're high alpha-linolenic acid. It's an omega-3 fatty acid, and that helps blood flow, of course. Walnuts can be fattening, though, too, so just be careful. Don't eat too many. It can be an issue. Again, we talked about it earlier. I want to talk about it again in case you're just joining us, is we have to look at the nerve supply to your blood vessels. Because the brain sends messages down the spine, out the nerves, to all the blood vessels in your body and every cell in the body, essentially every cell, not the red blood cells. But it sends it to essentially every cell in the body, and that's how the body works. So if you have pinched nerves, whatever on the other end of that nerve isn't going to work at 100%. So if you pinch the nerve to a blood vessel, the blood vessel may not function normally. And now we have a problem. And so I've had a lot of cases of Raynaud's phenomenon, or Raynaud's syndrome, where the fingers turn blue and get really cold. I've had people with cold feet. And when we do chiropractic adjustments on them, when we adjust the spine, we open up the nerve and blood supply. So again, that's part of a protocol. So what would make you a good candidate for a chiropractic evaluation? Let's talk about that for a second. If you have circulatory issues, yes. If you have pain, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, headaches, numbness, tingling, sciatica, yes. Digestive issues, actually any issue, because everything is related to the nervous system. And my team of doctors can check the nerves that feel pain, but remember, 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. So we can check the nerves that don't feel pain as well. So if you'd like to set up an appointment to come see us, go to our website, drjoe.com. In fact, you should. Do it right now. Set up an appointment because we want to get to the cause of your healthcare problems and not just treat the symptoms. So if you'd like to set up an appointment, drjoe.com. We have offices in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We can get you set up within 5 days. We can sometimes set it up the same day or the next day because we always leave openings available for new patients because sometimes people have to see us as an emergency, and we try to leave appointments open. Sometimes they fill up. We may have to put you off to another day. So to make an appointment, just go to our website, drjoe.com, or call us. The number's on the website. Give us a call. We'll get that set up for you right away. We accept people with all insurances. It depends if your insurance covers, but we accept you. If you don't have insurance, that's fine. A good portion of our patients, 40% or more, don't have insurance. We see those patients as well, and it's the most affordable, it's the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. So it's very rare that somebody can't afford our treatment. And there's also payment plans available. We do everything we can to help you become a patient. So drjoe.com. We'd love to have you come in, and let's get that taken care of. On a side note, if you're ever in a car accident, now, whether the car was damaged a little or a lot, my experience is this. If the car's damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. So if you'd like to make an appointment, drjoe.com. We'd love to see you, and let's do it this week. What are you waiting for? Ask yourself that question, honestly. What are you waiting for? Why are you waiting to get well? Most conditions, health conditions, the longer you go, the harder it is to fix. So go to our website, drjoe.com. Get that taken care of. We want to see you this week if we can. Grapes are good for the arteries. They taste great, of course, too. They're loaded with antioxidants that encourage blood vessels to relax and work more efficiently. Now, I don't want you drinking grape juice or wine. I know you're thinking, well, Dr. Joe said. No, Dr. Joe didn't say wine was good. Grape juice is just a lot of sugar. And grapes have fiber in it, and when you eat the whole grape, the fiber, and a lot of the nutrients, by the way, for blood vessels are in the grape skins, the fiber is going to help you slowly absorb the sugar. That's why I'm not a fan of fruit juices. but whole fruit I'm perfectly fine with. So not just the grapes, not just grape juice, but the grapes itself. Super Green's an essential source, of course. We add actually grapes to the essential source. How about that? Powdered grapes. And not wine. I got to say it again because somebody's going to say, well, Dr. Joe said wine's good for you. And you know what? Wine is good for you. But it's not the wine, it's the grapes. And it's the chemicals in the grapes. It's not the alcohol, it's not the sulfites, it's not any of those chemicals. The reason wine works, has benefits, is because of the grapes. So just eat the grapes, problem solved. You don't have to worry about the alcohol destroying your brain cells. Turmeric, another supplement I take every single day. It's a yellow spice, wonderful anti-inflammatory properties. The chemical in turmeric is called curcumin, but turmeric is the way you get it. Now, studies suggest that curcumin may boost the production of nitric oxide, which can help the blood vessels become wider. That, in turn, makes it for easy blood flow and get the nutrients to your muscles and your organs and things like that. On our website, drjoe.com, we also have Dr. Joe's turmeric. So a circulatory protocol from a supplement standpoint would be Super Green, Essential Source, nitric oxide, turmeric. I want to get that in there as well. I take glutathione for liver function as well. So there's lots of supplements that we can take to help our circulation. Omega-3 fatty acids, we talked about that. So if you do omega-3s and turmeric and super greens and essential source and nitric oxide, wow, that's great. Now you also have to stop causing the hardening of the arteries or the bad blood flow. And that's just a bad diet. And that's choices that you made, unfortunately, over your life that have now come back to haunt you. You know, the chickens have come back to roost. Is that the colloquialism? Never understood that one. But yeah, you want to stay away from the bad foods. What are the bad foods? What are the foods you want to limit in your diet? They're called the 7 deadly sins of nutrition. So go to my website, drjoe.com, and just type in 7 deadly sins of nutrition. Listen to the lecture I did. I did it out in California a couple of years ago. And we talk about the foods I really want you to cut back in your diet. Ideally, I'd like to see you cut them out. But I'm also a realist. So listen to them and say, you know what, Dr. Joe, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And you decide what order you want to do it in and what speed you want to do it in. And once you start doing it, you see the benefits, it becomes real easy. Most people say, Dr. Joe, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't anybody ever tell me about the 7 deadly sins? Well, I made that up. That's why. It's a little phrase I made up as a joke one day. It kind of grew. If you don't know what to eat, I have books written on it. The first book is called Eating Right for the Health of It. It tells you how to change your diet. Second book is called Prescription for Extreme Health. It's a layout of all the steps I feel everyone should be taking to build a healthy body. Books are on the website, drjoe.com, or in my offices. You can pick them up. If you want them autographed, let me know, and I'll autograph it for you. I saw one selling for $85 on eBay once. It was autographed. I thought, hey, I should autograph them and sell them myself. So other foods that can help with circulation. Spinach, again, loaded with nitrates. Nitrites converts into nitric oxide, opens up the blood vessels. Citrus fruit. Vitamin C isn't the only reason for citrus fruit. The antioxidants found in fruit help lower inflammation, prevent blood clots, improve circulation. Now, again, I'm not a fan of the juices because the juices is too much sugar. Eat the whole orange. We talked about watermelon having citrulline. Eat the whole watermelon. Eat some of the rind. When you get down to the bottom, that's where the citrulline is the most concentrated. And that's great, too. And it can give you a lot of water, too, because one of the things that we have to deal with circulation is water. Most of us don't drink enough fluids. Because when you were a baby, there's a part of the brain that controlled hunger and a part of the brain that controlled thirst. As you got older, those two parts of the brain grew together. So as an adult, we don't get thirsty very often. We get hungry a lot. And many times you're not hungry, you're simply thirsty. So I want you drinking water all day, every day. You're going to eat a whole lot less food. It's one of my great weight loss tips, too. And you're going to eat a lot less food. And because you're stimulating the part of the brain, the hypothalamus, that says, you know what, I really wasn't hungry. I was just thirsty. Thank you. I feel good now. I'm not going to make you feel hungry anymore. And water is going to help increase blood supply because blood is made out of water and increase circulation. That's why when you donate blood, they always tell you drink a lot of water. By the way, you should donate blood. Men, postmenopausal women especially, but everyone if you can, I recommend donating blood every 8 to 12 weeks because we can build up too much iron in our body, and too much iron is worse than not enough iron. And many times, if we have no way of getting rid of iron, we got to flush that iron out of the system. So donating blood is a great way to do that. And you're helping somebody too. And I know they sell it and they make a profit off it. You know, I don't care. I just want to donate my blood. And I don't eat the cookies and the cakes and the pretzels and the potato chips they give me. I just grab a thing of water. I have a snack beforehand. I walk out the door. right, folks, I'm almost out of time. Listen, if you want more information, follow me on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito, at Dr. Joe, DRJOE, Esposito, all one word. We post every single day. You're going to get so much health information bombarded. If you don't like it, just stop following me. Subscribe for our newsletter really is the best thing you can do. It's on the website, drjoe.com. That's when we have specials. We have a special coming up on Dr. Joe's Super Greens with hemp. We're going to put it on sale. We want to get people introduced to it. So you want to get sales. You want to find out about pop-up lectures, other specials we have, giveaways. I've given away concert tickets. Just go to drjoe.com and sign up for our newsletter. If you don't like it, you want to stop it, just unsubscribe. I don't know who you are. I just want to give you this information. We're not going to sell your names or anything like that. Don't worry about that. So it's a great way to follow us. If you like podcasts, just go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. And we post at least twice a week, sometimes more, and they're all listed there. If you're looking for a specific topic, just go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in the search bar. Hey, I want information on men's health. I want information on blood pressure, diabetes, what to eat, what not to eat, women's health, chemicals in our food. Chances are we've done a podcast. We have about 4,000 hours of podcasts on the website. And I've done articles. I've done blogs. It's a great source of information. And if you have any questions, make an appointment to come see us. It's the best thing you can do. But you can always send me questions through the website, drjoe.com. And we can do live meetings. We can do telehealth if we need to. We'll do everything we can to help get you well and keep you well. But to order supplements, book an appointment, any questions, the website again, drjoe.com. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Thanks for tuning in. All right. You got questions?
Is applesauce a good alternative to ice cream?
Yes. Make sure it's organic. Got a lot of ice cream recipes in my book, actually, Eating Right for the Health of It. I've made avocado ice cream. I'm not sure it's in this book, though. I think I came out with that after that. But this book is great. It's loaded with recipes. We have ice cream recipes in here, of course, good ones. Yeah, it's a great book. If you don't have it, you should get it. Okay, what else?
If recipes call for milk, what is a good substitute?
Almond milk, coconut milk, hemp milk, chia seed milk, cashew milk, oat milk. Yeah, any of the plant-based milks work, cup for cup, exactly the same as milk. So,
I have really bad trapped gas and I cannot burp. What can I take?
It's usually the stomach pushing up against the diaphragm, and then the lower esophageal sphincter clamps off the stomach so the air can't come up. So in most cases, we need to pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. And the reason I know this is I have that same condition. And when mine acts up, I just feel really bloated. My stomach sticks out, and I get one of my doctors to adjust my stomach, and almost instantly I burp. And I tell my doctors, and they all know me now. We've worked together for some of us 15 years. I said, listen, I'm going to burp after you adjust me. And they do it. And they go, okay, good. It worked. And it's actually a compliment because it was a good adjustment. So come see us, and let's see if it is the stomach up against the diaphragm. The burping is not the concern. It's the concern that the stomach is up against the diaphragm, and that's affecting protein breakdown. It's affecting brain function because you can't get nutrients to the brain. It's going to affect later on down the digestive system, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, malabsorption, inflammatory reactions. Yeah, you want to get that stomach fixed. So, what else?
What do you think about apricot seeds?
They call it B17, Laetrile. Supposedly, it's supposed to help with cancer. I wouldn't do it. They can be very toxic. They have very high levels of chemicals in there that are toxic. It's a scam. I'm not a fan of apricot seeds for what they say they use it for. So, what else?
What is a better form of vitamin C besides ascorbic acid?
Ascorbic acid is only 1/8 of the vitamin C molecule. So, what you want to do is do pure vitamin C. Rose hips is a good choice. Cherries are. We use pure vitamin C in our essential source. Ascorbic acid is only 1/8 of the vitamin C molecule, and I don't recommend that. It doesn't work as well. Studies have shown it doesn't work as well as pure vitamin C. So if it says vitamin C, great. If it says vitamin C has ascorbic acid, don't do it. So, what else?
That's it.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you being here. Make sure you follow us on all platforms at Dr. Joe Esposito. And any questions, drjoe.com. Most important thing, just come see us.